Tonight, agonizing new details about the victims of a fatal flight on the way to a diamond mine in the north.
He was a good kid.
The pain and sorrow of families whose lives changed in an instant.
I am so broken.
And the lone survivor airlifted to a hospital in Yellowknife. Former Team Canada World Junior Hockey players accused of sexual assault, according to a new report.
And we need to stay the course.
Plus, the impact on housing as the Bank of Canada holds steady on the interest rate but signals a shift. In Quebec, the legal clash between environmentalists and a green battery plant. And jackpot, the ace has been chased. Canada's newest multimillionaires after betting on a birthday.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening, everyone. They were headed to work at a diamond mine in Canada's far north, a journey that cost them their lives and shattered the lives of their families forever. Howie Benwell Jr. had just turned 30 a few weeks ago. Joel Tetso's wife describing her husband as her best friend and an amazing dad. The man among 6 people killed in the crash, 4 passengers and 2 crew. A lone survivor airlifted to Yellowknife, which is where we find CTV's Judy Trin tonight with the latest on the deadly disaster and the heartbreak.
I am so broken.
Beverly Chepelesky drove her husband, Joel Tetso, on Tuesday morning to catch a flight to work. Minutes after takeoff, the plane crashed. She began her day as a wife and ended it as a widow.
My husband and I have been together for 20 years. We share 3 beautiful children, ages from 9 to 15. He was an amazing dad.
4 passengers and 2 crew members of Northwestern Air died in the crash. There was 1 survivor. They were all on their way from Fort Smith to the N.W.T mine, a diamond mine located in a frozen lake near Northwest Territories' border with Nunavut. Tetso was one of 5 N.W.T employees on board. A few seats away sat Howie Benwell. He celebrated his 30th birthday only 2 weeks ago and posted this photo of the airplane wing on social media moments before the crash.
He's really down to earth. He was really into his music. When someone passes away, it's very devastating.
CTV spoke to Benwell's cousin outside N.W.T's head office in Yellowknife, a chance meeting that shows the close ties between the 2 northern communities. The lone survivor, a young man, is recovering from severe burns at this hospital, also in Yellowknife. Tomorrow, a team of 4 Transportation Safety Board investigators will start conducting interviews and collecting evidence at the Fort Smith crash site. They'll look at factors like mechanical failure, pilot error, and weather.
They'll certainly be looking at weather, at the time of the day, the darkness, whether or not icing was involved.
N.W.T is owned by international mining company Rio Tinto. In a statement, the company's CEO offered his condolences and said that he was en route from Australia to the Northwest Territories to support his staff. Omar.
Judy Trin on the tragedy in the Northwest Territories tonight. Judy, thank you. Police in London, Ontario did not confirm or deny a new report that reveals 5 members of Canada's 2018 World Junior Hockey team have been told to surrender to authorities to face sexual assault charges in connection with an alleged group sexual assault. CTV's Adrian Gobriel is in London, Ontario tonight.
On a dark and dreary day in London, Ontario, Canada's game was once again placed under the spotlight. According to a report in the Globe and Mail, 5 members of the 2018 Canadian World Junior Men's Hockey Team have been told to surrender to police to face charges of sexual assault.
These players are going to be arrested. They're not being asked to come in just to have a chat or a cup of coffee.
The Globe and Mail report states that the pending charges are connected to the alleged group sexual assault of a woman inside this upscale London, Ontario hotel in June 2018 following a Hockey Canada gala. A lawsuit filed in April of 2022 states that an alleged female victim met a group of young men at a bar following the gala and had consensual sex with one of the players. She also alleges that afterwards, 7 others entered the room, directed, manipulated, and intimidated her into staying, where she says she was sexually assaulted. The $3.5 million lawsuit against Hockey Canada was quietly settled out of court, setting off a firestorm that has shaken the Canadian institution to its core.
As a board, we continue to support the CEO and management.
That support in 2022 was short-lived. Eventually, Hockey Canada's entire board and CEO resigned. Major sponsors also walked away.
This is that next chapter.
Laura Robinson has spoken to sexual assault survivors across the country, leading her to write the book Crossing the Line: Violence and Sexual Assault in Canada's National Sport.
So until the definition of what masculinity is in junior hockey changes and changes permanently, I think we're just going to continue to tell this story over and over.
In recent days, 5 players from the 2018 World Junior squad have taken a leave from their respective teams in the NHL and one in Europe, with few specifics given, though the identity of the players involved in these allegations have yet to be confirmed by the authorities. London police had initially declined to lay any charges when they were first made aware of the allegations just days after the alleged sexual assault. They now say they will update the investigation on February 5th. Omar.
Just under 2 weeks from today. All right, Adrian, thank you. The RCMP's counterterrorism unit is now involved in the investigation into yesterday's shooting at Edmonton City Hall. The heavily armed alleged gunman who opened fire inside the building is facing 6 charges tonight, including arson and possession of explosives. The aftermath of the shooting spree still visible.
It's still sinking in, and it's going to take some time to process.
The security company Commissionaires confirmed today the 28-year-old suspect was an employee, but was never stationed at City Hall. Shocking new evidence today of the tragic impact of illicit drug use in BC. The province's chief coroner calling 2023 a record year for deaths.
Your child, brother, sister, mom, dad, friend, or colleague did not deserve to die this way.
More than 2,500 British Columbians last year, nearly 7 per day. The surge blamed mostly on fentanyl. Nearly 14,000 people have died in the province since the crisis was declared a public health emergency almost 8 years ago.
The conduct of large corporations that fuel this epidemic in pursuit of profits, that's what this is, it's outrageous.
And Johnson & Johnson will pay Washington State nearly $150 million U.S. after it was sued for allegedly pushing painkillers into the market that fueled the opioid crisis. The Bank of Canada kept its key interest rate steady today, but did signal a shift. It downplayed the odds of further rate hikes and opened the door to possible cuts. CTV's Vanessa Lee with the impact on housing.
The cost of borrowing isn't on its way down just yet, with the Bank of Canada's key interest rate unchanged at 5%.
Monetary policy is working to relieve price pressures, and we need to stay the course.
Mortgage holders with variable rates have already faced the shock of higher payments. Experts say Canadians up for renewal in the next couple of years should also brace for a significant spike. At this time in 2019, the average 5-year fixed rate was 3.59%. Today, it is 5.59%. Meaning a payment on a $400,000 mortgage that used to be $2,000 a month has shot up by nearly $400. Edmonton small business owner David Plamondon has 2 mortgages up for renewal. He wonders how his family will manage.
It'll be a lot of belt tightening. It's cliche, but it'll be things like reducing maybe some of our subscription services. It will be having to make a little bit tougher decisions about our food budget.
Anyone buying or up for renewal is being advised to lock in a rate as early as possible, given most lenders will hold them for up to 4 months.
Just for that extra peace of mind in case rates do go up again. If they do, then that's great. You already have a lower rate locked in. And if they go down, you can simply just amend that rate.
While higher interest rates cooled the housing market last year, realtors say they are starting to see more showings and more offers on homes, even though January is typically a slower time.
Consumers simply need to feel the confidence that a house that they could purchase today won't be less expensive tomorrow.
So when might Canadians see a rate cut? Many economists predict the first one won't come until June, Omar.
All right, Vanessa, thank you for this tonight. The Federal Commission into Foreign Interference is adding India to the list of countries it wants to examine for alleged meddling in the last 2 general elections. The commission, which will also look at China and Russia, has asked the federal government to hand over documents related to the allegations. The commission begins its hearings on Monday. Political tensions between Donald Trump and Nikki Haley are soaring tonight. Despite a decisive double-digit victory in New Hampshire last night and Iowa before that, his strategy of pushing his challenger to drop out of the Republican race failed, and that appears to have sparked his fury. Here's CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Melvin.
Voicing what many Americans are thinking.
Too old. Trump, too much chaos. A rematch no one wants.
Nikki Haley out with a $4 million campaign ad running in her home state of South Carolina.
New Hampshire is first in the nation. It is not the last in the nation.
It doesn't sound like Haley is losing, but she's not winning either. The fact she won't quit and fall in line like the rest of Donald Trump's rivals makes him furious. He even mocked her dress.
Who the hell was the imposter that went up on the stage before and claimed a victory? And just a little note to Nikki, she's not going to win. And when I watched her in the fancy dress that probably wasn't so fancy come up, I said, what's she doing? We won.
Endorsed by the United Auto Workers Union, President Joe Biden took a shot at Trump.
Tens of thousands of auto jobs were lost nationwide during Trump's presidency.
Already gearing up for a rematch, the Biden campaign out with a new T-shirt with the slogan, "Together we will defeat Trump again."
With Donald Trump, Republicans have lost almost every competitive election.
Haley, though, is facing intense pressure from her own party to bow out.
I think she's run a great campaign, but I do think there is a message that's coming out from the voters, which is very clear. We need to unite around our eventual nominee, which is going to be Donald Trump, and we need to make sure we beat Joe Biden.
Hoping for an upset, Haley can stay in the race for as long as she likes until the donors and the money runs out. Omar?
All right, Joy, thank you. Just hours after 2 American-flagged ships came under attack off the coast of Yemen, the U.S. struck back at Houthi rebels.
It obviously underscores that the Houthis still intend to conduct these attacks, which means we're obviously still going to have to do what we have to do to protect that shipping.
The U.S. says its airstrikes destroyed 2 Houthi anti-ship missiles, which were ready to launch. The latest escalation in their fight against the Iran-backed militants, who say they are supporting Palestinians in Gaza by targeting ships in the Red Sea. There are new reports tonight of a possible agreement on a 30-day ceasefire in Gaza. Crowds of women took to the streets in Tel Aviv today, calling for a pause in the fighting and the release of hostages. News agency Reuters is reporting that Israel and Hamas have made some progress towards a deal on a temporary ceasefire, which would allow the exchange of Israeli hostages for Palestinian prisoners. Russia is accusing Ukraine tonight of deliberately shooting down one of its military planes inside Russia. Moscow claims most of the passengers on board were Ukrainians being transported for a prisoner swap. CTV's Heather Wright on Kyiv's response.
This is the moment a Russian military transport plane crashed just outside the city of Belgorod near the border with Ukraine. Witnesses say they heard 2 explosions before the plane crashed and burst into flames. We saw some red flying object, this man says, and then we heard an explosion and saw a red flash. The Kremlin says 65 Ukrainian soldiers were on board, being transported from Moscow to Western Russia as part of a prisoner exchange. They accuse Ukraine of shooting down the plane and killing their own with missiles launched from nearby Kharkiv. Everyone on board died, said this Russian Defense Ministry spokesman. A total of 74 people were on board. Kyiv has not commented on whether it shot down the plane and has called for an international investigation. Ukrainian officials say they were never told to secure the airspace, as they have been in past prisoner exchanges, though its military vowed to continue destroying Russian military aircraft it believes is transporting missiles. Tonight, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Russia of playing games. It is evident that the Russians are playing with the lives of Ukrainian prisoners, with the feelings of their families, Zelensky said.
What surprised me more is just how quickly the narrative came out.
Retired Major General David Fraser said it's just too early to know exactly what happened, with both sides pointing the finger at the other.
There was a puff of black smoke, which would be indicative of some sort of missile. And so again, what happened? But it seems both sides are scrambling to try to get control of the narrative.
Yesterday, Ukraine was hit with one of the worst attacks in weeks. 18 people were killed and dozens more injured. President Zelensky is asking Western allies for more military aid, with fighting expected to increase in the coming months. Omar.
All right, Heather, thank you. Coming up.
They provide habitats for a rich biodiversity.
The legal clash between environmentalists and a Swedish EV battery plant spending billions on a future mega factory in Quebec. Part of Canada's bid to become a major EV manufacturing hub may be hitting a roadblock. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin on the legal showdown.
This land was sold as the site of a multi-billion-dollar project to give energy transition a boost. Now that plan is facing roadblocks, and it's environmentalists challenging Swedish EV battery maker Northvolt's footprint on a sensitive ecosystem. A group focused on environmental rights is arguing for a temporary injunction from the Quebec Superior Court, calling the province's decision to greenlight the project unreasonable. Bulldozers began clearing 8,000 trees last week on what was once the site of an explosives manufacturer. Northvolt has promised to plant 3 times as many trees elsewhere. But opponents demand work be paused until Quebec orders an independent environmental assessment.
Wetlands on this site provide precious ecological functions. They provide habitats for a rich biodiversity, including at-risk species such as the least bittern, which is listed as threatened.
The Quebec government argues the project and its environmental vocation is in the public interest and that its own biologist cleared it. Earlier this week, an anonymous group claimed responsibility for putting nails and metal bars in about 100 trees on the site, protecting the forest, the group said, by making it more dangerous and difficult to cut the trees down. But many called out the sabotage, saying the trees were to be transformed into things like furniture.
If we're lucky, we could grind them for biomass, but even that, depending on how much metal there is in the trees, we might have to just send them to the landfill.
And there's also another legal case in the works, this one filed by the Mohawk Council.
What we are opposed to is not even being consulted on the importance of protecting endangered species.
For now, bulldozers are silent on the site. The judge says he will decide soon whether to issue a temporary injunction. Omar.
All right, Geneviève, thank you. Still ahead, isolated no longer. Mental health support at the touch of a screen. This time of year can be particularly tough for people struggling with loneliness and depression. And while it can take months to book an appointment with a counselor, as CTV's Alison Bamford tells us, a new app is offering a digital solution.
All you do is click Chat Now.
With the touch of a button, Cecile McKay can access mental health supports anywhere in Saskatchewan. And when she does, no one will know it's her.
We get to go on there without fear.
The Talking Stick app offers anonymous one-on-one peer support from advocates trained to listen with compassion. It's specifically designed for Indigenous people to help their own communities.
We're not mental health therapists, and we don't give advice. We're just there to listen and be there and offer resources.
Users can choose who they talk to based on location and language. All peers are Indigenous and understand the impacts of the 60s scoop, residential schools, and generational trauma.
The majority of people that are coming to use the app, they don't have that support system behind them. And I see so many people have issues with loneliness, grief, isolation. and I wanted to be there to support someone.
It's not the only app that offers mental health supports with the swipe of a screen. Researchers are using technology and AI to gradually move the needle forward when it comes to access.
Over time, maybe more therapy could evolve to AI. And of course, we need to be cautious about that. And I wouldn't say that all therapy would be done by AI in every circumstance, but already in our society, you see technology advancing and at least helping.
Experts say we're a long way from the perfect therapy app, but platforms like Talking Stick fill a real need in isolated communities. Right now, the app is only available in Saskatchewan, but the company is working with the Assembly of First Nations to expand across the country. Allison Bamford, CTV News, Regina.
Police in Oklahoma are sharing dramatic dash cam video of a crash. And before we show it to you, you should know everyone is okay. A state trooper stopped an SUV when another vehicle came plowing through. Incredibly, the officer and 2 other people in the vehicles were all treated and released. No word on the cause. Close call after the break. The couple who aced it. A New Brunswick couple successfully ended the chase for an elusive heart and finally aced the game. CTV's Sarah Plowman on the multimillionaires.
For 48 weeks, people leaned in to watch a ticket be pulled from a pile, hoping it's theirs.
So it's Dan and Muriel from Beresford.
Over the phone, organizers asked the couple to pick a card. 5 cards left from what was once a full deck. Every player before failed to find the ace of hearts. That kept the game going. The Robins picked card number 2 for their son's birthday, a choice that won them $8.2 million. Danny and Muriel Robbins arrived at the hall shocked, greeted with cheers and tears. Danny Robbins told CTV he doesn't know what he'll do with the money, but there were 4 on the ticket: he, his wife, his son, and his son's girlfriend. Canada's biggest Chase the Ace is over.
As last night, it was just full-on electricity the whole evening.
From grocery stores to restaurants, Chase the Ace has been the talk of the town. People not just happy that someone's finally won, but that they're from here.
I think it's great that it stayed in the area.
The end means volunteers can finally take a break from printing, punching, and packaging tickets. The game is also a fundraiser for the local ATV club and a group that donates to hospital foundations and seniors clubs. But first comes an audit. It happens whenever a game like this surpasses $1 million.
Never in a million years would have we dreamt that it would have gone on for 48 weeks and get to an $8 million jackpot.
Making this moment hard to believe for the Robins and the community. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Petit Rocher, New Brunswick.
Lots to celebrate, and that's a snapshot of this Wednesday for all of us at CTV National News. Thank you for watching. Good night, and see you tomorrow.